From chapter 48, you write, all beings, past, present, and future, are connected through this great medium of spirit, or the channeling of spirit. Each spirit soul being is a transmitting and receiving power source. Practitioners feel and talk to the spirits around and with them, and feel the lesser or greater presences of spirits spread about everywhere. My question is, do all practitioners experience feeling and talking to the spirits around them in a similar way, or is it unique to the individual? In other words, is the mode of communication, i.e. telepathic, psychic, or in the dream state, different for each practitioner? If so, is this based on karma or spiritual need?
Well, it is based upon karma. In every case, it's based upon karma. We're talking about programs of cause and effect. Programs that are inherited, passed through the line. So, yes, we're talking about karma, that is to say specific conditions that are preset, already established conditions. Then. Furthermore, we should be talking to the spirits all the time. Often when we're thinking to ourselves, we're actually thinking to spirits around us, because we may not see them, doesn't mean they're not around. If you're around a certain type of psychic, they can see the spirits around you, they can see them walking through you. Sometimes you don't know that spirits are passing through you. Sometimes you do, when you get chills or something all of a sudden, when it's not about a temperature change. You get a tingling sensation, sometimes it's spirit passing through you. You happen to be sensitive to this kind of spirit passing through you. So there are indications that we can be looking for relative to spirit influences, that are in our environment. And we have to watch our thought processes and our feelings, for one thing, because that's how they will communicate to you. Sometimes they can move things around, so you see things you said, I thought this was over here, and it's not over here anymore, so it's over there. Sometimes there are those spirits who are strong enough to relocate things for you, to prove to you that they're there, or show you things. Like all of a sudden you open a book and then you read something and say, wait a minute, my grandmother or relative of mine said something like this, and what does that mean? Is it a coincidence? Is it a deja vu? Whatever. No, spirits are amongst us, right? They're in our sleep. They're around us when we go to sleep. They're around us all the time. And I don't mean in a voyeuristic sense, okay? Although that may be the case as well, but we're talking about the fact that we are spirits in the body, and we leave the body every night for travels, intermingling with other spirits, visiting other beings, places, to do certain other things. We take care of certain business we can't do on Earth with our physical body. So we're really much more complexly designed than we imagine if we're stuck in the body thinking we are just this, flesh bag, right? So we need to be more open to the fact that we are in a spiritual universe, and not just material. The material is the least of it. We're in a space verse. The space verse is filled with other things that we don't know about yet, but many people see the other things, and we can be in positive resonance with these other things. So you have to talk to the spirits, say there may be spirits here, and I hope you're good spirits. Bingo, good spirits. Each one of us has the ability to command good spirits. We may not be strong enough to command darker spirits, but we can become strong enough to command darker spirits. We can command them out of our space, we can command them out of our bodies, we can command them out of our minds and our emotions, we can command them out of our dreams, we can command them out of our sphere. Each one is potentially a sun, not just a moon, but a sun, radiance, soul, radiance. We have the potential of soul radiance, but we don't know that because we think we're just humans, and we're as good as we could see our image reflected in the mirror. That's it. That's what we are. Hair, lips, eyes, flesh, and that's all there is to us. Not so. We can actually share many bodies with other beings. Not only our own, we can be partaking of different bodies, multiple bodies, like different minds, multiple minds, simultaneously, and not know it as such. Okay. We can be at a certain point in a certain kind of circumstance where you and all the beings involved in it are exactly in the same vibratory note like during, let's say, a disaster. Everybody stops, the game stops, and everybody's in tune with what's happening, and nobody misses a beat. Your mind may be reacting, but everybody's with what's going on because it's something that is happening at a whole other level outside of ourselves.
So are you saying then that our thoughts may not be our own?
Your thoughts are never your own. They just appear to be your own. Your feelings are not your own. Your body's not your own. Your body's your mother's. Right? You're borrowing your body. Everything is borrowed here. I mean, this is a borrowed universe. Even planets that are formed, they're borrowed from. I mean, they're born of collisions. You know, the Big Bang Theory. You know, that everything is born of a catastrophe. This is a big mistake, a mishap. It's a mishap in motion. It's an infinitely happening mishap. Right? And rehappening and recreating itself infinitely. So we see this. So yes, we are spirits, and we should act like we are spirits and not be afraid of other spirits, and be confident of our own power as spirits, spiritual beings. We're spirit beings, but we can be spiritual beings. We can become more knowledgeable of these things, more open to these things, more tolerant of these things, and thus more, let's say, capable of succeeding as a result of being more open to, let's say, the spiritual side of life. Not the religious idea of it, but the spiritual, factual side of it. That we are amongst spirits even now.
From chapter 49, you write, "The gift of intuitive insight, if allowed to, cuts quickly through the assumptions of philosophic reasoning and argument, speculation and skepticism, doubt and presumption, all of which are children of intellectual ignorance. Intuitive insight bears and reveals the present moment as it is. The moment as the it is free conscious spirit being, here and now, even while inhabiting any, all, or no body." My question is, are some people more naturally inclined to recognizing or using their intuitive insight?
Obviously. If we're talking about cutting through ability, we all have it. We all have the great advantage of the fact of the universe that we are in nowness. We're really in now, even though when we talk to other beings and even when we are in our, say, reveries on a normal daily basis, we're rarely in the present moment. We're always relating to relative to time, work time, family time, recreation time, mail time, food time, meal time, bathroom time, right? Check time, friends time, boyfriend time. Right? You got to keep up with the boyfriend or the girlfriend. Animal time, right? Pet time. So there's really no doubt that we are time consumed. We're controlled by the Lord of Time, which is called Kal in the Far East. Kal, time, mechanical time. So we are talking about having the insight that we are in the now and only the now, and stopping with that. I mean, it's cutting through all of our programming to the contrary. It's an insight. It's a radical insight. That we are nowness. See, and that nowness means timelessness. We are in the ever-present, always here, now. Nowness. So, I'm saying, then there's no body, there's no self, there's no thought, there's no world, there's nothing. There's no time, space, energy, or matter at all in this moment, which is just like being suspended in timelessness, zero space.
How can one sharpen or become more attuned to their intuitive insight?
By paying attention to what is beyond, let's say, distraction. Distraction. What is distracting you from knowing your moment in the now? What is it? Peeps? What is it? Work? What is it? Money? Survival? All of these things are great distractors. And are great, let's say, deterrents, barriers, obstacles to recognizing the power of nowness which is what peace and silence, meditation and practice is about. It's just stopping and being still and feeling the presence of the heart throughout your body and throughout your space. And what we're talking about then is not just merely like a mental sort of device. We're talking about recovering clear breathing, calm brain wave activity, and relaxing the heart function to peacefulness. So we're talking about the moment of healing, a radical moment of healing, being okay with yourself in a radical moment of healing by way of enjoying the peace of nowness, even for a few minutes or a few seconds. If you can do it a few seconds, you might get to a minute. If you can do it for a minute, you might go a few, and that might be a bit about all your schedule in the day can handle. That's a good start.
From chapter 49, you write, each incarnate being, as well as spirits in the spirit world, may know the future to the degree that there is openness to the present moment, wherein lies the key bridge to all time, forward or backward, the future or the past. My question is, what exactly do you mean by openness to the present moment? Do you mean that one may know more about the future by bringing more awareness to the present? Or is there more to it than that? Does freedom factor into it?
When you say freedom, freedom from what? What, the natural freedom from time, you say? The freedom to view, let's say, your situation in time. Say, your freedom from your own neuroses to try and figure out what's happening for your life in the moment. Yeah, but it is freedom, but it's also collapsing. It means stopping. Let's say the preoccupation with distractions is stopping and being with the body in the now, which is good practice. Say, being here now, for the moment. Now, when we're talking about time relative to future, we are talking about the present, but we're also talking about the past, present, and future at the same time, because that's what's in the present. It's the was, which became the is, which becomes the will be. See, they're simultaneously occurring in one like radical stream or wave of consciousness. So that all time is here and no time is here at the same time. It's a paradox. So to be able to read the future sometimes requires the tolerance of being in no time. Now the future is already, let's say, has already happened, but we don't have access to that from the physical plane as easily as we could have access to that when we have more understanding of the causal body that is within us, right? The memory body, because the memory track goes past and future. See, death is not something that might happen. Death is something that's scheduled with the end of the planets and everything else. It has a time. It's time. Death is time. Time to go. Time to move on. Time to pass. So just as we have, let's say, the calculations, abstract calculations of, let's say, the sun, right? They say the sun is going to burn out, the earth is going to be pulled away, let's say, or the moon's going to be pulled away from the earth, and the earth is going to be pulled into the sun. All of these calculations are, say, relative to the fact that the future is part of our moment. Now, when we are so preoccupied, for the most part, with the past, we can still know the future. Some people have dreams about exactly how they're going to die because it's revealed to them, and that's exactly how they're going to die. It's not like they want it that way or they're trying to create it, but it's because it's already happened, and that's a paradox. But you have many cases where, you know, the individual has a dream and they tell people, I dreamt that this is how I was going to die, and that's exactly how it happens, because the future was already known. And that's true in everybody's case, but that doesn't mean everybody can tolerate the perception of the future that is already known in their case. And sometimes it may be better not to know that, and I think that's why most people have failed, so that they can more appropriately and directly accomplish what they have to do without the distraction of knowing when and under what conditions they're going to die. And it's the same with past lives. the doors are shut with a certain kind of logic. The logic has to do more with accomplishing what's here without the distraction of knowing the good and the bad of what you've done before, to manifest in such a way as to obstruct your functioning now, which then is a consequence relative to the future.
In cases like that where someone dreams of dying in the future, is that set in stone? Can they do something to change that?
In the cases that we know about, like in the case of Abraham Lincoln, he knew about it before it happened. He was already towards the end of his life anyway, so it's hard to say, if he wanted to change it, because you see it, you may not know what it is that's going to lead up to it. It's an uncertainty in a sense. But what it is a certainty that you're going to die, and it was known already, that it is known. You can see it. You don't have to believe it. It's already happened. Yeah. But who wants to see that? When people are in near-death experiences, sometimes they move forward and they see it. They say when you're drowning, your whole life races before you. See, from the earliest to the last moment. That means that the drowning experience is conducive to activating the causal body, the memory body, so you can see. You can see what you need to see. So it's active under certain conditions more than other conditions. It's also active on the dream level, so you can actually have dreams of other people's passing and it be exact. There are many people who said, I dreamt about this, and then that's what happens. See, so this is not imaginary. This is psychically correct, where some people are more sensitive relative to the causal body, and the time track with more precision. Then let's say others say, well, I had a dream, or obviously imagination or fantasy, it was a nightmare, I dreamt this, and they shut it out, they block it out. See? But a lot of the knowledge is given, but it is blocked out by the ego, blocked out by fears. It's obstructed by fear, concern, not wanting to know, not wanting to feel the pain of that, not wanting to work with that. They can't work with that. So there's resistance to it, psychic resistance, because it's too close to home in some cases. So again, considering this from a spiritual viewpoint, not just a psychological and reactive human viewpoint, well then we need to know what we need to know. We want to be as open to spiritual currents, that means flows, energies, planes, vibratory rates, as much as possible, as much as we can handle. Because just as you can open to it, you can shut it down. Sometimes it's hard to shut it down once it's open. So you find that in the psychic sciences, that once you open up a channel, it's hard to close it. And that's a fact. You just open. You can't stop what you're inputting. You can fight, you can beg that it be closed, but usually what you have is an open channel, and you got to work with that. So what you ask for, as I said earlier, what you ask for can be a blessing, can be a curse, or the gift that you wanted, in terms of seeing more and hearing more, and taking that next step. Comment?
No comment.
If you live the life of a lower spirit and pass over in that state, are there any exceptions to you being automatically born in a lower world? Yes, there can be exceptions. So even because of a pre-inclination or a certain kind of karmic pattern towards the darkness, which seems to be written in stone and not changeable, there can be exceptions. The exceptions can come from a number of different places. The influence of prayer can be a factor here. The influence of, let's say, sacrifices made on the part of a mother for her children can be a factor. To eliminate the suffering of the children, this can be a factor. So we're talking about prayer being religious, but we're talking about positive wishful thinking and wishing, yes, the best for certain peeps can have an effect upon their lives. That's a form of outreach, that's a form of loving and cultivating a certain kind of benign thing. It's also attaching you to them, which can be an issue for some peeps. So you have to be careful. In other words, it may be better to wish all beings better goodness, see, then working with specific beings, unless those beings are really very close and dear to you as an individual or as a relative or something like that. Right? Because in that sense we're here to help one another. And through forgiveness, if we can use the concept in this case, right, there can be healing, saying yes, no. The person has good, but the only way we're going to get to the good in the person is if we bring them more good than they used to or expect. Then that can bring it out in them. Okay? And this is what happened recently relative to a relative of yours when you made contact with that relative. Mm-hmm. Okay? And this is true. You want to bring love to those who you really feel needed, even though they seem to be disconnected from you. See? But you can still put it out there. You're not giving up anything. You're actually just exercising the right. Everybody has to be a heart-resonant being. Also, we have these people who are on, let's say, death row, who committed crimes, who know that, and who ask for forgiveness. They can go to a good place, depending on the degree of the conversion they have relative to the light. See? They may get a heaven that is greater than, let's say, those who are living a mediocre life relative to good and bad, you know, living the straight life, and feeling super confident in the fact that, well, because they have a religion and they're religious, well, they're good enough and they've been promised heaven and all the rest of that. That might not work beyond the point. All the promises of heaven may not work as much as a heart that is sort of like purified in its own blood, so to speak. Where the intense prayer, see, the intense, let's say, sorrow for those who are harmed, can be enough to reach the heights of heaven. See? Then forgiveness, self-forgiveness is critical. So knowing that you can never ever do anything that evil or dark. Again, you would never in any way, shape, or form. You would want to recreate the whole world to make it a better place. That kind of intention can be very powerful, see, to the higher regions of consciousness. See? Because you have many that kill in justifiable circumstances. See, as we started talking earlier about murder and blood and warfare and all the rest of that. What of those crimes? Right? See, what of those contacts, those psychic sort of experiences there, those linkings? See, what of those? See? All of that has to be purified and given up. See? And those who have a conscience usually go through some kind of purification process. That I can't live with myself. I've been murdering the children of other people just as my children could be murdered. I don't want my children murdered because I had to murder other people's children. And often, guess what? It does happen. Your children are taken as you take the children of others, even justifiably, by either the horrors of war or the horrors of the street. And that's not what we want. Therefore, they say in the esoteric circles, do unto others what you want done to yourself. We're not talking about justified anything. Unjustified or justified, what you do will come back to haunt you. That's the law of karma. It's not a threat, it's just a cycle of logical, mechanical functioning. So it's better not to harm. And it's better to do good, I think, because then you may open up the door to a cycle of goodness that you would be much happier for having created for yourself and your family than not. Regarding children, our children, always the children, and parents, always the parents. Who's the children? Who's the child? Who's the parent? Well, by role perhaps, but not always in fact or truth or in spirit. That's what we need to see, because the one with the wisdom is usually the elder. It could be from a useful being, a young spirit, but it will be the parent is the wiser of those involved in this. See? Yeah. That's the parent, let's say, not the blood parent, see, not the obvious parent. But the wiser one is the one who's the parent, see? Because we're all here to be taught wisdom. And we all naturally look up to the wise person as the elder. see, the real parent, see, not just the blood parent. Because we have relatives who are not wiser necessarily, see, because they're older. See. So we have to understand that wisdom, especially what you are accumulating under these circumstances, is wisdom, which makes you the wiser, which makes you the elder, which makes you the parent, which means it makes you the guide, see, in a spiritual sense. Are blood families really family? That's a good point. A question asked earlier. Are families really not families, but business arrangements, karmic business leveling, taking care of business, finishing up business so you can move on. You find that to be the case often with families. Certain things happen and go down and the children skedaddle and never to return because they feel done, because the family was just about business, handling business, material business. And once handled a certain way, it terminates, you know the deal. It's over, it's finished. And you find that to be very, I guess you might say, sad development in some families where they say, well, we don't know why they went. They got into their business and we never saw them again. Meaning exactly what we're talking about, a business arrangement. Similarly, there are spiritual bonds that have very little to do with material arrangements, and so the material arrangement doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter who's wealthy or who's poor. The bonds stay intact regardless of materialism. Yeah. And those are usually more spiritual families. And regardless of what happens at the material level, you're not judged one way or another. See, because you're related and bonded in the heart, and that's all that really matters in that kind of arrangement. So then you have a spiritual quality to the family. It's not about just the blood. It's about the spirit. Yeah. The spirit is stronger than the blood. Yeah. Blood may be stronger than water, but the spirit is stronger than the blood. And in the spirit we have love. In love we have compassion and heart sense, heart awakeness, and we have mastery. See, heart mastery. See, in the spiritual sense of it. And there's not anger, there's not conflict, there's not confusion, there's not doubt. It's just a heart wave that's present. Are murders one-way debts or two-way debts? Okay. See, so this is a paradox. See, because we can say in some cases the murder was already preordained, predestined, and maybe pre-agreed upon. See, watch your dreams. You don't know who you're liable to be involved in some kind of accident with, and somebody passes. But then you're part of helping them pass over. Okay. And this has happened even in my case.